so we're here a little bit early. I want you to go ahead and grab your foam roller. I'm going to spend a little bit extra time today doing some foam rolling. So make sure you have your foam roller, even if it's a little bit, one of the longer ones, that'd be good action. Okay. I was raised to be early. I swear to God. I got one more little adjustment I want to make. Because we're live. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. Just want to make sure we're in a good frame here. Obviously, we're back in Boulder. Back at home, in the home gym. I was actually thinking to do Monday mobility outside because in Colorado it's so beautiful right now, and it's such a beautiful fall time. And oh, look who's here. Good morning, Deacon. I think you guys make sure you give me a comment. I want to know the name of your dog, because isn't it an automatic that as soon as you get the foam roller out, the dog shows up? Tell me I'm wrong on that. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of reactive foam rolling. Proactive versus reactive. Reactive is I want to make sure that I'm rolling out just a little bit all of the muscles that I used this weekend while I was training. Deacon, sit. Good boy. We just had a little shakeout run. So the name of the dog and whether or not your dog interacts with you immediately upon getting out your foam roller. So we are reactive foam rolling. I had a good bike ride. Obviously, those of you that come every week know that I've been in Hawaii. I was there for the Ironman that did not happen. But the house that we rented wasn't in the mood to give us our money back. And I understand that. That's one of those things that kind of comes with owning a rental property. So, you know, in good spirit, I just went to Hawaii and I played lots of golf. And I had some good runs and just enjoyed the island. It's such an amazing place. Okay, so, I already got a pop and a crack through the thoracic spine. So the T-spine is any part of the back, the spine, where the ribs attach. That has to remain mobile, right? Even as runners, don't just focus on the lower body. If you're swimming or biking or anything, you need to make sure your thoracic spine is mobile. So we're going to do that using a little toggle today. So I've got the foam roller right below shoulder blades. So not up on the shoulder blades. I want them to be able to dance. I want them to be able to move a little bit on the upper back. So from right here, foam roller's right below. You're supporting your neck. And all we're going to do is side bend to the right, side bend to the left. We're here early. Don't worry if you're just getting started. You're not missing anything. We're doing a little bit of reactive foam rolling. Okay, now what I'm going to do is move the foam roller up on my back 1 inch. So we're going to toggle that next vertebrae, that next joint of the upper spine, and just toggle side to side. So I've got a lot of athletes flying this week into California to do either Ironman California or LA Triathlon. So I want anybody who's on the show today to be able to re-watch this episode in hopes that it will serve you well after you travel. Traveling can be just as intense on the body and put you into a position of tightness than training. So if you're training and you're traveling, and you're not doing mobility work and tissue release and tissue care, you know, you're just going to keep shutting down performance. You're going to get in your own damn way of getting better. So lower body here, you can see, and I just kind of passively sometimes, and obviously this is active, notice what's happening. And if you look at my foot right now, look at your foot. Is your foot in an extended position, like if you were swimming? Is your toe pointed? If your toe is pointed, we call that kind of a plantar flexed position. It's a little clue that there's tightness in the back side of the calf or the back side of the lower leg. So if there's tightness in the calf, maybe the posterior tib, maybe the soleus, we're not sure what it is, but we know something's going on down there. So we're definitely going to work into this dorsiflexed position and push through the heel as we go through our mobility routine today. So there's that left leg, lower leg done. And so when I passively just go here, or even when we sleep in bed, the blankets push us into that plantar flexed or that pointed toes position. That is something that first thing in the morning, working through ankle mobility, we want to make sure mobility's done every day. If you're really in a position of growth or you're training really hard, then you really better be doing this stuff. And that's why it's kind of fun that we're accumulating a nice library of mobility routines. I think we've been on YouTube here, at least 7 or 8 weeks. So we've got seven different episodes that you can be using on a weekly basis and just kind of scrolling through. So everybody who just kind of showed up at 7:45 or 6:45 Mountain Time, welcome. We're here live in Boulder, Colorado. My name's Erin. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I've been doing that for over 30 years. I train some of the top endurance athletes in the world and around the world now that I know what technology is. Okay, so we're hitting that left hip. Nice, reactive, just kind of working out some of that stuff. We're going to go really quickly, guys. If you've already been through this once, don't worry. It's going to help you. We'll go through it again. Right hip. And you can see I'm kind of turned sideways because I want to work into that glute med, that lateral aspect, that lateral support that I need from my hip. Not just always looking after that big glute max. He actually will usually shut down before he gets really sore. And that's why your piriformis sometimes is the last man standing when it comes to glutes, even though it's not officially a glute. It's kind of part of that whole complex. So into that upper back, foam roller right below the shoulder blades. Toggle with me, nice and easy. We're going to also add a little bit of extension through this. It's moving much easier this time than it did last time. Okay, now we're not moving on the foam roller, we're just going to extend around it. You might feel a little bit of a stretch in your chest if you spent a lot of time this weekend, maybe even gardening, maybe raking leaves. You know, that's still going to tighten the chest. Some of us got off the bike and then we rake leaves. Okay, from right here, let's move that foam roller up on the back just a little bit and let's toggle. Good. And then a nice big extension. Support the neck. I want that extension to come from the thoracic spine, not the neck. Good. And that part of the neck would be called the cervical spine. Okay, next thing, we're going to go into the side laying lats. And when we do our lat this time, we're going to use rotation. So we've got the top leg bent and back. So we're starting to open up this right hip. And we're just going to rotate to the front, rotate to the back. And as I rotate, there's definitely some clicking and popping going under the armpit area where the lats attach to the rib cage. So you want to get just below the armpit, and we're just going to rotate 5 times. 1, support your chin, tuck your chin just a little bit. 3, 4, and 5. So one of the things I want you to start noticing, and we'll head to the other side, is when you set your lower body, we're going to go bottom leg is straight and coming straight out the bottom, and then top leg is bent and back. So we're starting to get into a little bit of that hip decoupled position. Foam roller just under the armpit where I'm on the rib cage. From right here, thumb is up, and I want the lower body to stay nice and still. So right here, if your hip is moving and your leg is moving, you're showing yourself that you need to separate the upper and lower body. And how that functions in sport is you need to have a nice stable lower body in your landing phase of running, and you need to mobilize around it so that you can move into your swing phase. So you have this moment of stability on the lower body and this beautiful Relaxed upper body, arm swing, chest swing. Good. All right, from right there, we're going to hit those calves again. And this time we're going to add a little bit of weight from the other leg. So right here, we know we've got a little bit of tightness going in the lower leg. We're using the opposite leg to add load and push just below the calf muscle. And we're going to use that little bit of flossing. So flossing means moving muscle without moving much of a joint. So right here, we're moving through that calf, we're activating, we're mobilizing the ankle complex. And I call it the complex. It could be used as a joint as well, the word, but just kind of complex. Sounds complicated. I don't like to use big complicated words, but I do want you to understand your basic anatomy and understand and speak intelligently about how your body moves and why you're doing what you're doing. So sometimes I might overteach. I always tell my clients, if I talk too much and you just want me to shut up, just say, Aaron, TMI, TMI, too much information. So it can get overwhelming. Okay, good. There's a little bit of flossing. So when you think about what flossing is, you can really contemplate that when we were doing the upper body movement, we were definitely flossing. We were flossing through the thoracic spine. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of a side view here. I want you to get into a full kneeling position. If you're on a carpet, that's easy. If you need a little bit more padding, take your yoga mat, your sticky mat, and just go ahead and tuck it under so you have good padding under your knees. Front view from this really quick. You need to have your feet ever so slightly outside of your knees so that we're getting this internal rotation through the hips and into the pubic symphysis. The separation of the pelvis on the front side is called the pubic symphysis. Okay, so there's a little more anatomy for you. Okay, so feet are just outside of the knees, internally rotating the hips. We're going to drive the hips back just a little bit. And from right there, I want you to take, I just got back from Hawaii. So the bottom line is we want to use that hang loose sign, thumb on the bottom rib, pinky on the hip bone. These are the measuring sticks to ensure that as we breathe, and from this position, we're going to use breath work, and we want to see if you can expand your ribs by filling your lungs with air, okay? And as you exhale, your measuring sticks serve to make sure you don't collapse into that exhale, okay? So let's set the measuring sticks, hips to the back just a little bit, drive your hips back, thumbs on the bottom rib, tuck your chin back, chest up, and all we're going to do is breathe. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe out through your mouth, don't let your rib cage get closer to your hips. 2 more big breaths. Okay, good. Now I want to work on the abdominal contraction that goes with holding your pelvis in that neutral position. Last week on the mobility session, we worked a lot on bringing pelvis into neutral, but we can work on that from the front side. So I'm going to flip my hat around so that we can go down on the ground, and we want to set an anchor. So that means put your knees together, your toes together, and have your heels apart a little bit. And we're into that internal rotation of the hips. The arms are going to go way out, not straight out from the shoulders, a little bit out to the side. And from right here, I want you to, I'm not going to do it, but because I'm going to talk to you, but I want your forehead on the ground like this. Forehead on the ground. And that's going to give us a nice neutral spine. Now, what I want you to do, everybody, forehead on the ground, set an anchor. I want you to inhale through your nose and pull your belly button away from the floor. Okay, big inhale through your nose, pull your belly button away from the floor. So if I wanted to, I could slide my hand under your stomach. Now, as you exhale, keep your belly button off the floor. And you see how you have to draw in, you have to activate your deep abdominal muscles to keep your belly button away from your spine and keep space under your belly. Even though I can't stick my hand under there and Some of us have a little more action that we're trying to maybe get rid of, maybe a little bit of extra fat on our stomach. But don't worry about that. The idea is that we're pulling the belly button away from the floor. Let's go 5 big breaths here. Ready? Head to the ground, forehead on the ground, fingertips long. Those of you that know posterior decompression breathing, that's exactly what we're doing. Okay? Forehead to the ground, big inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep working. Pull your belly button. Inhale. And exhale. You're driving your pelvis into neutral. 2 more. Big breath. Inhale. And exhale. Forehead down to the ground. Now let's do a little bit of neck contraction, head contraction. I want you to go ahead and pull your head away from the floor. Keep looking straight down. Good. And just lift your nose. Keep your nose just off the floor. Inhale and exhale. That's a skill I want you to keep working on. I'm going to keep hitting that. We're calling that, from Dr. Eric Goodman from Foundation Training, decompression breathing. It will be one of the most impactful things that you will learn and practice. It is definitely a skill. It takes a little bit of time to get under your belt. But when you can decompression breathe, you will increase the function of your lower body, because you will unload your lumbar spine. Because as we talked about, this big lordotic curve does create some congestion in the signal coming from your brain to your lower body. Okay, so let's go back into that position, that full kneeling position. Get yourself off the floor. You now know how to breathe, decompression breathing. We're going to take the foam roller. We're putting it over the head. We've got nice internal rotation of the lower body, and we're going to side bend. So if you were, there's no forward lean, hips are directly underneath of you, and we're just side bending. 2, 3, and you can see now my hips are moving just a little bit laterally. So if I tilt to the left, side bend left, hips can move a little bit to the right. Side bend right, hips move a little bit to the left. We're creating some length in the TFL right here. Good. Good. And the TFL relates very closely to the lats. So if you have tight lats, chances are very good that you're not able to actually toggle your hips, because your TFL is also really shut down. Let's go a couple more times. Side and side. All right, let's go back to the foam roller. I want to foam roll my inner thigh, my adductors, okay? From here, what I want you to do is lay on your left side, take your right leg all the way up to the height of your hip. From right there, go ahead and drop into TV time, which TV time is elbow on the ground, supporting your head. I want the foam roller perpendicular. That means it's making an X on your upper leg, this big muscle here called your femur. And we want to just lift the foot, ow, above parallel, and work the foam roller through that inner thigh. Now, I didn't even have a huge weekend. I had kind of a comeback weekend. I did a short run yesterday. I did a long ride, 2.5 hours on Saturday. And I hadn't ridden my bike the whole time I was in Hawaii because I didn't have a bike. And I didn't want to contribute to the issue of emergency services on the island because they're dealing with COVID. So what I did was I just played golf. It's a little bit less risky than riding my bike out on the Queen K. So right here, when I rode my bike Saturday, I definitely am feeling some tightness, even though I didn't ride hard. Okay, onto your right hip. TV time with the right hand. Knee is all the way to the height of the hip, left side. Foot comes above parallel. Foam roller perpendicular. It has to be perpendicular. If you're not a little spicy in this inner thigh area, I would be shocked. And if you are, if you're not spicy in your inner thigh when you're doing this foam rolling, you can train harder, guys. You're under training. You can do more. Okay, right there. Now, if we wanted to floss this, we would lift the foot. So find a spicy spot. You can see I'm using my left hand here to unload some of that weight. And just floss into internal rotation. So you think of how many times your hip gets tight. You know, you're doing that reactive foam rolling and your hip gets tight. Well, your hip gets tight because this muscle, your inner thigh, is also tight. So if they work together and they glide, they're less tight and they're less painful and they function better. So we've got to work the yin and the yang kind of thing. I call them functional partners. So the inner thigh works as a functional partner of the outer thigh, right? Flossing both sides. Hopefully you just change sides. And good. All right. Let's take that foam roller, put it off to the side. We're going to stay down in the half kneeling position, but we're going to extend one leg out. Let me get on my sticky mat here. I'm not really a yoga person, so I call it a sticky mat, not a yoga mat. Sorry for all you yoga people. Yoga freaks me out for endurance athletes. There's some people that do it really, really well and don't screw up endurance athletes, but I won't let most of my athletes do a lot of yoga. So we can cover that in a whole nother session. But without question, there's people that are very, very good at yoga for endurance athletes, but not many. Okay, right there. Most of the weight is on my left knee that is underneath of me. We're gonna push the hips back, arms to the front, and then come right back underneath. We're stretching now. We released using the foam roller. Now we're asking for a little bit of hip action. 3, hands to the front, hips to the back. I'll do the second set. Side view so you can see how far my hips are going back. Working that hip hinge. Working that space, create space between the ribs and the hips. That's one of my favorite, hugest cues for all of my athletes. Good. Okay, this next one, I'm just going to do it side view, change sides. Take a nice big breath. Create space between your ribs and your hips. We need separation of the upper and lower body so that I can run and move through my upper body as my lower body is nice and stable. Ready? Push your hips back. Spine stays nice and strong. And then come right back. Push the hips back. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. Okay, let's get into a standing position. Stand up. Just kind of shake that out. Just a little nice, easy marching. That kind of mixes up your nervous system and whatnot. So right here, we're just going to go a lateral step to the right. Those of you that did the live session on Saturday, we reach to foot. So we're landing, we're stable. We reach and return. So we're going to go to the foot 15 times. That's kind of a longer set here for Monday. Feels a little bit like exercise. Step, land with the knee in, rotate across, tap the foot. I want you to get all the way to the foot. 3, 4. If you're looking at me on a screen right now, what I want you to do is think about how your knee is going to face me. So you're going to pull it in. 6, into the midline. 7, into the midline. 8, that matters. Working these functional partners. Inner thigh fires, outer thigh or outer hip lengthens. 11, 12, push your hips back. 13, all the way to the toe. 14 and 15. Now, I want you to get all the way to the toe because that is your measuring stick of mobility. That's your body showing yourself the ability. I can get all the way to my toe, keep my eyes on the screen. That's the other thing. Try and keep your head up, eyes up. Ready? 2, 3. Shouldn't have to look at your toe to touch it. It's your toe. 4. We've been touching our toes since we were kids. 5. 6. Keep the knee in. Push the hips back. If you cannot get to your toe, just go to your knee. We'll get you there. You keep coming to Monday mobility, you're going to get access to a huge movement bubble. Okay, there we go. Okay, internet's back. It's not perfect. Live session, anything can happen. I want to keep going a little bit. Hopefully you just stuck with me. It was a couple seconds. We're going to go ahead and keep going. Wide stance. This is going to be the last thing we're going to do. From right here, we want to push the hips back. Reach the hands all the way down to the foam roller. That foam roller right now is about 1 foot in front of me. The coolest thing about the foam roller when you're doing this is it goes in front of you. You can push your hips back and roll the foam roller. It's mobile. We love that, right? Best tool ever. So right there, push the hips back. Hands reach forward. If you can start getting comfort with that, push it forward a little further. And then get that one all the way forward. You should feel high hamstring on this. Some inner thigh, posterior fibers of that adductor magnus. Keeping in mind, you guys, now I want you to know anatomy, the biggest muscle that creates adduction, that squeezes the knees together, and that creates that amazing stability for the pelvis. His name is adductor magnus. And magnus does a lot of cool things. But right now, for this movement, just think that he has fibers in the back, posterior fibers, and right now we just want them moving and opening so they don't feel tight, right? That's what mobility is all about. Decrease tightness. Good. And good. All right. First session back in Boulder. I'll keep creating more and more mobility drills, but I want you will see repeating happening because there's things that are just good, and we need to keep coming back to them. You'll see foam rolling, you'll see movements, you'll see steps, you'll see and feel things that will bring your heart rate up and your body temperature up a little bit. But that's to create heat, to create tissue awareness, everything that'll help you have this very, very bubble. But more than anything, thanks for showing up live. I'll try to get to everybody's questions. Don't forget, we want the name of the dog. Hit subscribe, hit the little bell so that you're notified whenever I post a new video. I'm going to post more as we go into the winter. And then again, if you'd like to join me for some 30 days of ECFIT Premium, when I schedule all of your strength workouts in addition to mobility and foundation training. Thank you for coming. Peace, everybody. Enjoy the week. Happy Monday.